Hi, this is Regina. Welcome. In this video, I want to talk about naming acids. Acids are named by the oxoanion that it carries. For example, if the anine's name ended in an 8, it would produce an ic acid. If the anion name ended in an 8, it would produce us acid. For example, if you had sulfate ending in an 8, take the entire charge out and replace it with an equal number of hydrogen, the sulfate becomes sulfuric acid. In another video on naming ionic compounds, I talk about a convenient rule for determining the formulas for various oxoanions. Here's a review of that. Carbon, nitrogen, and halogens, phosphorus and sulfur, and you put 2 minus, 1 minus, 3 minus, and 2 minus, just like I've shown you, and O3 and O4, just like I've shown you. So if you wanted to make carbonate ending with an 8, you combine it with O3 and put the charge, and that's carbonate. The rule for ite ending with an ite is simply by dropping an oxygen. That's carbonate. Let's go through an example here using bromine. So bromine combining with O3 gives you bromate. Drop an oxygen gives you bromide. Drop 2 oxygen from the 8, you get hypobromite. And if you add an oxygen, you get perbromate. So it is very important to be able to develop the formulas and the names using this rule that I explained in some detail in naming ionic compound, and a little bit of a review here. Because once you name the oxoanion, it's very easy to name the acids. All you have to do is take the number of charges out, replace it with an equal number of hydrogen, and the carbonate becomes carbonic acid. Do the same here. Take the charge out and put an equal number of hydrogen in the front. The carbonate becomes carbonous acid. You will make bromic acid here, bromous acid, hypobromous acid, and perbromic acid here. Let's go ahead and do some examples. Okay, so if somebody gave you a formula that looked like this and asked you to name it, what you want to do is take the anion part only, and using your rules, you have to start out with your 8 rule. And just to remind you, you have nitrogen and halogen, and you know chlorine is a halogen. And there was a carbon here, phosphorus here, and sulfur here, and halogen is here, and that will combine with O3, and it'll give you a 1 minus. So you will have ClO3 1 minus. Then you compare with what you've circled, and you notice you've added an oxygen. So if you add an oxygen, it will become perchlorate. Notice the ending in an 8. So the acid would be perchloric acid. Let's do H3PO4. Again, circle this, go to your rule. This is 3 minus, this is 2 minus, O4 here, this is 2 minus, and I'm just going to draw a line right over here. So PO4, 3 minus, is phosphate. So this piece here is phosphate. I hear myself ending in an 8, so the entire acid would be phosphoric acid. Again, SO4, I determined that SO4 2- is sulfate, so this will turn out to be sulfuric acid. How about NO2? NO3 is nitrate. And do not forget the charge. We want NO2. So to go from NO3 to NO2, I have to drop an oxygen. So NO2 would be nitrite. Ites will make us acid. So I would name this acid nitrous acid. And nitrate, NO3, we know is nitrate. So HNO3 would be nitric acid. How about HiO3? Now, from our 8 rule, we know IO3 1- is iodate. So I would call this one iodic acid. And CO3 2- is carbonate. If you're a little confused about the 8 rule, I would recommend that you go back to naming ionic compounds and see how these formulas are created from the rules. So it's carbonate, so I would say this is carbonic acid. Okay, so there's another class of anions which are not oxoanions, and we don't have a rule for it. They're found in the periodic table, and the charges are obtained from the periodic table. I have here all the halogens. This is fluoride, chloride, and bromide. This is the only time when you make an acid by taking the entire charge out and adding an equal number of hydrogen in the front, you get to say hydrofluoric acid. So you add a hydro in front, and then it's a fluoric acid. Similarly, this would make HCl, and that would be hydrochloric acid. Here, again, you will take the entire charge out, and you get HBr, and that would be hydrobromic acid. Okay, let's go and try working backwards. What if someone gave you perchloric acid and you had to develop a formula for it? You notice the ick. So you make the 8 anion, ClO4, 1-, it's a perchlorate, so that's why you have one extra oxygen. And then you take your entire charge out and add an equal number of hydrogen in front, and you have yourself a formula. Sulfurous acid, notice an us, so you're going to make sulfite. First make the sulfate and drop the oxygen. It should be 2- here. So you take 2 charges out and add an equal number of hydrogen in front, H2SO3, and that is sulfurous acid.